Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
Rev V over here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for Friday. What is it? The 15th of January. January's halfway over. Welcome to the Ides of January. And if you don't know already, it is
16th.
16th. See, that's how I do it. I'm never on time. Yesterday was Martin Luther King's birthday. So here we are. Welcome to a Friday. And we have a semi-recurring favorite guest. I was going to say fan favorite, but I don't know if that's true or not. But you're one of my favorite guests. Dr. Bill Marchiony from New Thought Philadelphia is with us this morning. Good morning, Dr. Bill.
Good morning. And if I have to be somebody's fan, I'd just soon be yours. So
there
thank
we
you for
go.
that.
All right.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything in the news to talk about this week?
We're going to have to send you a coffee mug.
Oh, I have the generic coffee mug, which I realized that I did not take the time to go down and fill before we started the program. So
you'll be at a disadvantage then this morning. Yes.
It will be under-caffeinated.
All right. You were, I cut you off there. So feel free to jump in.
Me or Z?
You.
Well, yes, it is wonderful to be here. And actually, the reason that I'm here is because I came up with one of those ideas that in a lot of cases, being a minister now, instead of a zany morning show personality on the radio, I don't have a venue for. And you immediately said, "Oh, come on the show." And it's my notion that we could solve the problems in Minneapolis and in Iran in one move, which is just to send ICE to Iran.
That would be a good thing.
I had a feeling you'd like that one, see.
It's probably impractical.
The tricky part is I'm not sure we'd be able to get everybody a passport to go to Iran. If you saw the news yesterday, it turns out that ICE did hire convicted felon and leader of the Proud Boys. And internal documents were leaked that he passed all the tests, and I forget his name at the moment. I don't want to speak it anyway, but the leader of the Proud Boys is actually an ICE agent right now. Figure that.
Yeah, the phrase "water seeking its own level" comes to mind.
So we're going back to the time of slavery when they had slave codes and they had, slave riders, and that's what these guys are.
Yeah. I have yet to see an ICE agent of any color. I think that's probably the only factor that wouldn't get you a job at ICE at this point.
I wonder if anybody's applied. It seems like a hostile work environment to go into to begin with.
Yes. And I didn't pull that story up this morning. Let me find that. The Independent was reporting an anti-Trump journalist claims ICE offered her a job after 6-minute interview and sloppy vetting. Laura Jadid described an experience of recruiting processes and concludes it was so sloppy that the administration effectively has no idea who's joining the agency's ranks. She submitted a drug test and admitted that she had smoked marijuana no more than 6 days prior to the test and still passed. ICE is backpedaling. There's a great YouTube interview with her out there. ICE is backpedaling, saying they never actually offered her the job. They just offered her a preliminary interview after the 6-minute preliminary interview. And she claims she has an email that told her when to report for duty.
You see, if you can point to something that people can look at on TV and see with their own eyes, and then claim that it didn't happen, that becomes the superpower.
Yes. I was. I wondered. Go, Z.
No, I'm just going to say, it's we have an administration that's running the government by sleight of hand.
Yep, and nobody's saying stop doing that. Well, I'm saying stop doing that, but nobody's listening to me.
Yes. I put out a post yesterday. It didn't get as much play, but I wondered aloud what would happen if we all just started applying for ICE positions.
Interesting. I wonder if applying for work with them would count as obstructing justice.
There we go. We're sorry. You did not qualify, so we're going to arrest you for obstructing justice.
No, you did qualify, and you weren't serious.
There we go. So even more so.
Well, let's see. I'm an old white guy. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going nowhere near it.
Yeah, they'll come after you. They'll just deny Bill and I. They'll actually send somebody to your door.
Well, and speaking of sending to the door, their battleships supposedly on the way headed towards Iran, because Trump has said he's going to intervene. Just taking off that we should send ICE agents. That would be the major catastrophe. That might kick off another world war if they sent troops in there.
I agree. Now, if we actually wanted to help, there are a couple of really innovative, clever ways to do that, and it actually fits in with this administration's desire for self-dealing. And that's just to drop a ton of Starlinks in so that the resistance can get back on the internet. You buy them from Elon Musk at 25% over retail, and you spend a huge amount of money parachuting them in, but you don't have to drop any folks on the ground, because wherever they land, the only thing you can use them for is to connect to the internet. Mm-hmm. So the government forces won't want to, and the other people will figure it out. Don't know how to activate a Starlink? The instructions are written there in black and white, and you can probably find a friend who knows how to turn it on.
I'm trying to find it here, and I'm not locating it, but I saw a headline go by today that Putin is actually mediating peace in this whole thing, or at least that's how the Russian government is framing it. That he's there to mediate peace between Iran and Trump. I think he's got a little bit of jealousy that Trump finally did get his hands on a peace prize this week.
Yeah, he needs a peace prize, like I need ICE at my door. This dude is starting. He is revving up war in my mind. When I look at the conditions for both world wars, where there were these small skirmishes and disagreements on sovereignty and all kind of craziness, he is creating that right now. He's threatening everybody in South America, Cuba, Colombia. There's talk about now that we have control supposedly of the oil in Venezuela, that Cuba may fall because most of their oil was coming from Venezuela, and they already have infrastructure problems where they have rolling blackouts and so forth. So I mean, it's a crazy tactic that could lead to some serious consequences if he doesn't release himself of his duty.
And the rest of the administration also doesn't particularly care about the world order. They just want it to be whatever the United States wants. And that's kind of a problem because we created the world order that exists now after World War II by being leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And, my observation is, he came in complaining that the United States is paying far more than our share for all of this stuff. And, nobody else is chipping in the amount that they should. And that was what he was whining about. And the United States was the only remaining superpower at that point. And this is like when your family gets together and you go out to a restaurant, dad pays. That's just what happens. Or if brother Ronnie happened to have scored big in the tech biz or whatever, then Ronnie pays because that's where the money is, and you want to keep the family together and everybody's going to be happy. Let's have a nice meal, and yeah, I'm going to pay to keep poverty from happening in your impoverished country, and I'm going to bring healthcare to your nation because otherwise the illness is going to come to mine. And it was all very generous and all completely self-serving because it supported a very healthy way of life. And the biggest economy in the world. Let's use a spiritual principle and give some of that away. And it seems to have worked. And now we get to stop and keep the money. And so what?
Yeah.
It more and more and more feels to me that we got 900 tons of steel running downhill on a runaway train, and I don't know what's going to stop it.
Well, you think about this whole deal down in he made it seem as if all the oil companies were going to just jump right in and head back south. And they're saying, well, we need to pump the brakes on this because what happens if I go down there and put all this money in and people, want to take control again like they did back in 2007 or whenever they did it.
They did it twice already.
And it just does.
Yeah, Venezuela has nationalized the oil industry there twice. So, fool me once, fool me twice.
Yep.
Oh yeah, let's try this again because obviously the American policies are set in stone. Nothing's going to change. No, we won't need Venezuela's oil if we take over Iran.
Yeah, I
would the oil companies go in Iran?
Nope.
Seems like the oil companies are doing the same thing to Trump that he did to that worker in the Ford plant this week.
Yeah, how far we've fallen, right?
When you get a picture of the U.S. president giving a blue-collar worker the bird, how far have we fallen? And the worker, I'm trying to pull up the was reprimanded and punished, is my understanding.
I heard he was suspended during an investigation. Was there new news that they actually punish him?
It depends on which headline you're reading. The New York Post calls him a lunatic.
Of course.
I am seeing reports that the worker himself has stated he has no regrets at doing so. Makes me want to put some black tape over the Ford symbol on my car out in the garage, or leave it in the garage and not take it out on the streets. To punish someone for free speech, whether on a company property or not, in times such as this. And I mean, how right do you have to be to get the president to flip you off?
Well, and the big question is, I can understand if the the supposed lunatic was screaming invective and insults and trying to cause trouble. But what he said was something which is demonstrably true. He called Trump a pedophile protector.
Yep.
And because Congress passed a law that by December 19th, all the Epstein files had to be released, and the Justice Department is part of the Trump administration, and they haven't done it, then by definition, he's a predator protector.
Mhm.
Yep.
Or a pedophile protector.
Mhm.
So, there's another one of those things where saying something true gets you in trouble because it's uncomfortable. Mark Kelly's going through the same thing as the
Yes.
The Department of Former Defense wants to bring him up on charges for reminding people in the military that they don't have to follow an illegal order, and in fact, they're not supposed to. Which I knew.
And if you compare whatever his name is, Pete's record to Kelly's record in terms of military service and understanding military code and so forth, he can't hold a candle to Kelly. Yet he's following the directives of the administration. And you said something, Bill, that we've fallen. That in my mind, we need one of those. They used to have those little devices where when you fell down and weren't able to get up, you had that thing say, "I've fallen and I can't get up." We need everybody to get one of those and just start pressing it so that voice echoes all over the country.
And here's an interesting twist. The gentleman, the Ford worker's name, TJ Sabula, has been suspended by Ford. And I can't find anywhere what his annual salary is. However, friends and family members started a GoFundMe. Surprise, that's what you do these days. And so far, they asked for $10,000. So far, over $330,000 has been raised to support this man. So I don't think he's too worried about going back to work at Ford for a little while, at least at this point. And the other funny part is I saw all the reporting that Trump gave him the finger and said F you. But what I didn't know is Trump also said you're fired. So I guess the old man's having a little bit of a flashback to his glory days in that regard. And not sure whether he was filming an episode or whether he's president at this point. I don't know.
Well, and that sparked an interest in my mind, kind of off the subject. But I would love to hear what you guys think about the whole Greenland fiasco. I'll just leave it at that.
You want me to go first, or you want to take this one, Robert?
Sure, go for it. You're the guest today.
The word of the day is insane. Greenland and Denmark will do anything we ask. They have been our most enthusiastic allies since World War II. They love the United States. They want to help the United States. They want to support the United States. They just don't want to be part of the United States. I think in the 80s, there was a treaty that the United States could build and maintain a base in Greenland, and basically anything that we want to do, we can. So do you need to own it if you have it? Can we take it by military force? Well, there's the total population is 57,000 people. So, and I wouldn't guess all of them are at their fighting weight. So yeah, the observation is we could probably take Greenland in 45 minutes. And so what? What's there in Greenland that we want that we can't have just for asking? Minerals that are down there. The minerals have been there for a while. We can go in and ask for them. Let's get some minerals out of here. And of course, being Danish, they're going to require that we do it in a responsible and sensible way. So maybe that's what we want to avoid. No, we want to have radioactive runoff in all of your streams and rivers. So hard to say. But taking Greenland would be an act of war against a NATO country by a NATO country.
Right.
And that is, Trump says that Russia wants Greenland. Now, Russia would really like NATO to fall apart.
Yes.
That breaks Europe back up into Lego blocks that they can collect in a different manner. So this is incredibly short-sighted. And do we need Greenland? No. Do we have an interest in protecting the territory of Greenland? Sure, but that doesn't sound nearly as dramatic.
I've been reminded recently that Greenland is one of the most strategic positions on the Risk game board. So for those that used to play Risk in their younger years, or maybe play now, Greenland was always, a coveted location because it's the dividing line between North America and Europe. And it's part of that North American piece. You got to hold Greenland to hold North America. But ultimately, Trump has a problem thinking that all of the Americas are part of the United States of America. And he wants the whole Western Hemisphere. He wants, they're saying it's because Greenland is strategic to build the Golden Dome. Greenland is strategic for early warning if Russia were to invade, but at this point, Russia's our friend. What are we worried about there? And we're about to go get Iran, so we don't need to worry about them. And I don't, and we've used to have actually a bigger presence in Greenland than we do currently. We have downscaled the number of bases that we have in Greenland. We've decided over the years, this whole thing just feels like another one of these boondoggles that help us to forget we want to see the Epstein files.
Oh yeah, invading Venezuela to distract us from the Epstein file seemed like it was over the top.
But and that didn't work. That didn't work. So let's go invade Grenada or Greenland, or maybe we need to take back Hawaii. I think we need to take back Hawaii. Hawaii, they've become rebels out there in the middle of nowhere, and we need to take. I should keep my mouth shut. I shouldn't give the guy any ideas, but America appears to be at war with itself, and the American people didn't declare this war. The American government has declared war on itself, on its own people, under the guise of illegal immigration. And they're talking about going door to door in Minnesota, just assuming that you're guilty. And the spineless Republicans are letting it happen. And I'm going to get in trouble because I'm going to say that word that gets me in trouble.
I'm going to talk about, because you mentioned Risk. And yes, Risk is a fun game and interesting strategy, etc. And Risk is based on moving ground troops across the land. And if you're going to do that, Greenland is pretty helpful. And as far as I can tell, we haven't done that in a while.
Yes.
And if we're moving anything significant, like a ground army to Greenland, we're either going to do it in the water, or we're going to have to go through Canada, which is not going to be all about that, because they're not huge fans either. With climate change, which this administration thinks isn't happening, the waters around Greenland are becoming more navigable. So it's actually possible to have more of get shipping that's going through there. So I can understand the strategic importance of Greenland, but having the alliances is much more important. And Yeah, so there's a couple of problems with the United States taking over Greenland, and one of them is that the Greenland people have free healthcare, free universal healthcare, and you want to see a revolt go on, and you try and take that away from 57,000 people, including the infirm and elderly. I'm surprised that Denmark hasn't said, we'll trade islands with you. You can have Greenland if we can have Hawaii.
I can't, that's got to be it. Trump cannot stand for people to have health care. How dare they give people free health, all 57,000 of them? How dare they do that? We've got to go in there and stop this stuff.
You know, I just saw something that the deputy director of ICE has resigned so that he can run for Congress in Ohio.
Yep.
And so when I think about this, you know, I look at all of Trump's cronies, for lack of a better word, and how they're slowly trying to get into the main. They get these ancillary positions, and then they try to parlay it into a more powerful position to continue or to set up the continuation of his ideas and policies once he leaves office. If he leaves office, he cares he's going to. But if they put that machine in place, the challenge, you identify him, and how do you root him out? Everybody's not going to be a Marjorie Taylor Greene and wake up and smell the coffee and say, I'm not dealing with this guy anymore.
Good point.
Here's our weekly reminder that the Project 2025 tracker shows they are at 51%. 1 year in. We are just barely 1 year in, and they're at 51% of the 320 objectives being tracked by this 2025 tracker. My God. And we haven't even gotten anywhere on some of these. Some of the big ones. Federal Election Commission, Federal Trade Commission, Federal Reserve, National Institute of Health, FDA. They haven't even gotten started there yet. But a lot of these we're 51% in, and we're 1 year down.
So again, I'm wondering, and I agree with you. It's alarming, and you know they published the playbook, and many people didn't take it seriously. But the serious question that I have for you, you know, with the big news from the last week is, how much beef tallow have you added to your diet since the new food pyramid came out?
I can't afford beef. What are you talking about?
No, beef tallow. just the fat. Yeah, and drink lots of whole milk.
Yeah.
We're trying to get people to kill themselves so that Trump doesn't have to do it with ICE agents, I guess. I don't know. Insane.
It'd just be so much easier if nobody had health insurance. It feels like we're in the midst of the world's largest selective attention test. Some people may not remember that the original selective attention experiments happened way back, I think, in the 70s, and it's if you can look it up online, it's the video of people passing a basketball, and in the middle of the video of people passing a basketball, a gorilla walks into the frame and beats itself on the chest and walks out. And following the test, respondents were asked, "Did you see the gorilla?" And a large percentage said, "No, what gorilla? What are you talking about? What gorilla?" We have the far right the MAGAs in the world have done a great job of helping people to not see the gorilla in the middle of the room, have to not see what's going on. And they think we're all crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They think we are absolutely out of our minds. Of course, that man got hit by the vehicle, by Renee Good. Of course he did. I still am confused to hell how somebody that was hit by a car hard enough to cause internal bleeding was able to walk away, whistling to his friends to come over here, get in his vehicle, and drive away from a crime scene, and didn't drive himself to the hospital. He drove himself home to his house. And he and his wife started packing the house because they knew what was going to happen. They started packing their house, called their buddies, and their buddies showed up 2 days later and helped them move out of the house. And we don't want to see the gun in the middle of the room. We want to look at the woman in the car and call her an insurrectionist.
There's a really easy way you can believe that story. And that's if you don't think it should be told under oath.
There we go. Yeah. If you close your eyes and squint, then it looks like you got hit by the vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you don't even need to see the video because they say that's what happened. So I'll take them at their word.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing in the Epstein files to see.
Yeah. You just sparked a memory. I want Jordan Klepper. Man, where's Jordan Klepper? I think Jordan Klepper realized it was getting too dangerous for him to continue to finger the pulse of America, because I loved those segments. And I remember one where he was interviewing a guy, and I forget which files it was or whatever, but the guy was saying, well, it's all in the files. Just read the files. Just read the files. And Klepper goes, oh, so you've read the files? He goes, no, I don't need to read the files. I listen to these guys, but you should read the files. Again, what gorilla? What are you talking? What do you mean? The gas station incident this week in Minnesota is the ICE is surrounding a vehicle. The gentleman is refusing to open the door or get out of the vehicle. You hear one of the agents say, he's Honduran. Like you're an expert and can tell that this guy's Honduran. This is not a targeted thing, right? You just pick some guy that looked brown at a gas station. They break the window open. They're dragging him out. There's guys everywhere taking pictures because everybody's trying to document, and everybody's now a citizen journalist, which I love. I think is great. And video later reveals that the guy with the camera was actually backing up when the ICE agent smacks his camera out of his hand, pushes him in the chest, and yells, "That one, get him." The guy tries to run and gets swarmed by 15 agents. They beat the piss out of him on the ground, pick him up, haul him away, throw him in a minivan. These are scenes that I saw as a kid, supposedly attributed to Nazi Germany. And let's remember our history. The Nazis got it from us, folks. We're doing a lot of pearl collection about us becoming the Nazis, but the Nazis got it from Jim Crow. The Nazis pulled their entire playbook directly out of how we treated black folk in the Jim Crow era. Those that do not pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. And I think the Trump administration is gleefully reenacting American history to bring back Jim Crow. And I'm going to get in trouble for that one too, I'm sure, but that's okay.
And they're deleting the history to remind anybody or to give anybody the evidence that it happened by changing all of the curriculum.
Yeah. I saw, my wife sent me a clip. I got to find the woman's name. Go buy every history book you can. Because her premise is they're going to shut down libraries. They're going to shut down libraries because that's where the truth lives. And we need to go buy history books. Go find your local thrift bookstore, your secondhand bookstore, and stockpile history books that tell the true history. Z, you turned me on a couple years ago to the one of the struggle of people of color in Tallahassee. And I picked up a copy, put it on my shelf. I believe you sent me a copy, or I sent you a copy or something, and it's sitting on my shelf. I'll be honest, I've never actually taken the time to read the whole thing because it's a pretty hefty book and it's very densely written, but when they turn off the internet in the US, like they've done in Iran, we need to preserve the history of this country. And the only way that's going to happen is through the written book textbooks, is through the old history books. Go buy history books. And she had a great list of, you guys chat a second. I'm going to see if I can find her name real quick. And she had a great list of books specifically around Black history that we might want to all go stockpile.
Yeah, there was a report this weekend. I'm not sure which agency the spokeswoman was part of, but she specifically invited white men who have been discriminated against to register a complaint because somehow through a DEI policy they were excluded from something. And I completely understand the premise. And the fact of the matter is, if you start with one pie, it's a zero-sum game. If you start with one pie and the white men are getting all the pie, and then you say, we're going to let women have pie, then suddenly the white men are only going to have the pie. Oh, and we're going to let Black people have the pie too. Then it's down to a quarter of a piece of pie for the white men. Is that discrimination against them? Because they used to have a whole pie. You know, what happened to us? Well, okay. You're right. You're getting not as big a slice of the pie. Maybe we should make the pie bigger.
We've got time. I'm going to share this real quick. Let me pull this up. Maybe not. Let's see.
I'll tell another story along those lines while you're pulling that thing up, which is in the 70s, my brother went to a college that had been all men. And they decided that they wanted to open admission to women as well. But they also didn't want to exclude any of the men who had traditionally been able to get into the school. So they went from a semester program to 4 terms a year and were able to add enough capacity that they could bring women into the school without reducing the number of men who came into the school. Innovative idea. It's now been integrated for 40 years and nobody thinks about it anymore. Robert froze.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Robert's freezing because it was -7 or 7 degrees here this morning in Philly. So, I'm sure you guys are either 40 below or having a heat wave because it's Denver.
And, you know, speaking of weather, right? For the past week here in Denver, we've been flirting with 70s. And starting tomorrow, the high will be in the 40s, but there is no climate change, global warming, changing patterns, whatever it is. And we continue to propagate all kinds of activity that's going to increase the greenhouse effect. And this is just gonna get to that tip. We won't be able to effectively change the situation.
Mm-hmm. Guess who just started importing Chinese electric vehicles? Canada. How's that for your policies working against you? And the really interesting, scary thing is that they're really good. I mean, they're very well engineered, and they've solved a lot of the technical issues that we've been facing. Like, they charge quickly. They're on track to have an EV that'll charge fully in 5 or 10 minutes, which has to do with anodes, but I'm not going to get into the technical part of this conversation.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and it's you know, you think about your phone, right? You used to charge your phone, and then they came out with these superchargers and these supercharged wires. They could use that same technology on scale. You can do it with a phone battery. It's still a battery. You should be able to do it with a car battery. But so the technology is there, the understanding is there. I don't think it's profitable enough right now, or it will diminish profits if they did that.
It depends on how big your timeline is. Because if we want to have something that's going to pay off this week, then that's a different situation than something that's going to pay off, in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. And it usually doesn't take that long. I mean, I was in technology in the 80s and starting in the 1980s. And you remember TV monitors used to be those huge things? And you had to, the big box with a cathode ray tube in it, and they would heat up and stuff. And eventually we got to the point where we had LCD screens, but we couldn't use LEDs in the screens like we do now because nobody had invented a blue LED. And they were chasing around after that, and it took them the longest time. And then you know what happened? Somebody invented a blue LED. Now all the screens are LEDs, including on your phone. So yeah, everything goes along, and it's impossible until it gets done, and then it becomes normal.
It's impossible until it gets normal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My favorite game changer will be nuclear fusion on a large scale, where we can just have unlimited energy, clean, without generating a whole lot of heat. And I mean, there's a game changer. Then how interested are we in Iran and Venezuela?
Mm-hmm.
How much of a player is Russia at that point?
And you know, that gentleman who had killed the students at Brown and then went and killed the professor that was at Harvard, that was his specialty. He was a nuclear fusion guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. He was supposed to be one of the best in the world, and now somebody is taking him out. You know, no conspiracy. I'm just making the point on that fact that we have the technology, we have all the things to make this $6 million man. Let's just use it.
We have the technology.
We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster. Nah.
Yes.
Nah.
Nah, we haven't run out of oil yet. So
yeah, let's go get a beer instead.
I think the government was listening this morning and they decided I was getting too rambunctious. I'm not sure.
They threw you out of your own TV show?
Yeah, start talking about hoarding history books, and I got in trouble there. I don't know. Either that, or it might have been the 450 Google tabs I have open at the moment.
That makes you either well-informed or obsessive.
Exactly. We'll figure that out maybe next week, folks. So I'm looking at the clock here and realizing we are just about run out of time. Want to make sure that Dr. Bill has a chance to go get a a cup of coffee before his next meeting, and we're sure you've got places to be today too. So we're going to thank you for being with us on the New Thought Media Network. This has been Ministers Talking Shit for Friday the 16th of January. Elzia and I will be back again next week, and please be sure to tune into all of our normal broadcasting throughout the day, throughout the week. Let your friends and family know what we're doing here, because I realized the other day, we are new media. We might be the new media. I'm not sure, but we're definitely not mainstream media. That's for sure. On behalf of everyone here on New Thought Media Network, thanks again for being with us. We'll be back with you again soon. Until then, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
Be peaceful.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.